On this episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast, we talk about Swansong by Carcass. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And today we're going back to 1996 for an album that people
don't like. People
generally don't like.
I love this album.
Here's the thing. I think it is divisive, and by that I think there are more people than you might realize who agree with you that they also like it. Now, do you like it and also think it's good, or do you just like it?
I like it and also think it's good. I think what happened was that I think they lost their contract, or they had to make another album. Was the whole deal?
I was reading through the history of the band, which we'll talk more. It doesn't seem like they. I don't know exactly what the record label trouble was, other than when they were recording this album.
Yeah,
the label they had signed to started withdrawing their support for the recording of the album and the band, and so they were seemingly, amidst other frustrations with their label, they were kind of forced to return to Earache to release this. And then even before the album was released, broke up.
Right.
So
they'd run out of fucks to give while they were doing this.
Yeah. And I think the knowledge that there would seemingly never be anything more from the band. They made two more albums later since then. But that combined with a very remarkable shift in tone and genre compared to their previous albums, I think left a lot of fans rather dissatisfied with the end of the band, because this is a death and roll album.
This is a very death and roll album.
This is not a straight up death metal album. This is very much a death and roll album, and apparently part of it just came down to part of the sound being a bit more minimalist. Came down to Bill Steer being fucking lazy and not wanting to do all the different layers that they had done previously for the guitars.
Right. He's just very stripped down. Yeah, just we'll do a more stripped down classic rock kind of sound for it. Right.
And the songwriting, the songwriting on top of that is also more of a death and roll style. But
right, and there are riffs on here, and I believe there are riffs on here that they would like to have used earlier, but it wouldn't have matched their music. And they're like, fuck it, we have all these great riffs we love. Let's just put them into songs.
And
who cares?
I think it was just not what people wanted.
Right.
Not what people who were fans of the death metal band Carcass were interested in hearing.
Right.
So I don't know if anyone could be particularly surprised, but we'll talk more about Swansong later on. First, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Life is good, man. I'm gonna go home tonight. I bought on the way home. I bought some black licorice ice cream made in Botno, North Dakota.
Oh, it was made in Botno. You didn't mention that part.
Yeah, but Pride Dairy. It's
Pride Dairy.
They're very proud of the dairy Botno, and I don't know where that's from, but
is that the cow?
That's me.
The cow sounds like cow. That.
Moo. So yeah, I'm gonna have that, and I also got some chorizo and beans. And I'm gonna just make a chorizo and bean. I was gonna have that before I came here, but then I thought, loading up on beans and going to someone else's house, probably rude.
Seems like I feel like if I did that, this apartment would be like beans and then ice cream. This apartment would probably become a serious explosion hazard.
Don't like that.
I'd suffocate, and then any sort of electrical spark would potentially turn this apartment into a bomb.
It would be it would be that scene from Backdraft.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like it's weird. Like I seem to have my level of lactose intolerance seems to be weirdly selective, where like certain ice creams from certain establishments don't seem to upset me quite as much, and I think that comes down to some places having a slightly different definition for exactly what constitutes ice cream. Like from what I remember, like McDonald's ice cream is not.
It's a petroleum product.
Yeah, it's not it's not strictly speaking ice cream the way it would normally be defined. Yeah, and so it doesn't seem to upset my my sensitive guts quite so much.
In fact, I know my ex-wife told me that in Canada, if you buy a milkshake from McDonald's, it says on the container, it says this container and the product within is an edible oil product.
So yeah, whatever the case may be, it doesn't seem to upset my limited lactose intolerance very much. I think I'm trying to remember what place in particular. I think like Sonic ice cream in particular must be a little too dairy heavy, and predictably Culver's as well.
Right. Yo, but man, those
but Culver's ice cream is so good.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have some gastrointestinal issues afterwards. So yeah, I don't know. Like I used to drink so much milk.
Right.
And then when
you don't do it, you lose it.
Yeah, when I started working full time,
right?
I stopped eating breakfast, and since I was out of college, and so I was keeping steadier hours, and even if I wasn't eating breakfast for whatever reason, like I stopped drinking milk with meals.
Exactly. You replace it with whiskey.
Yeah. Well, I think what it was is like when I would drink milk with a lot of meals when I was, in college and whatnot, because I had milk in the fridge because I bought milk to put into cereal.
Right.
And then I was like, I would like something other than water to have with this meal, something that is both refreshing and creamy. And so I enjoyed a glass of milk with a lot of meals, drank a lot of milk, and my roommate thought I was weird for that. And I guess also a lot of other people think that an adult drinking any amount of milk out of a glass is a weird thing to do.
Why?
I don't understand that. I don't get the hate for it.
The truth is most of humanity, like 90% of all humans on the planet, are lactose intolerant.
That's true. So if you got the gene where you can drink it, why not make an effort to keep that shit? Unless it's like out of, some sort of moral concern, if you're like a vegan or something like that, or if you maybe don't want to support like the dairy industry, that sort of thing. Okay, whatever. But if you got no problem with dairy products, I don't see why people think just enjoying a glass of milk is
I've never
weird.
got hate for that. Nobody's ever hated on me for drinking a glass of milk.
I've seen a lot of it like online of people being like, who's this weirdo that drinks so much milk? I don't get it. I don't know.
And you have a female cat too. I mean, you could actually produce your own milk right here in the apartment. Just get a really short stool and...
I didn't know you could milk a cat.
You can milk a cat. You ever had cat milk before?
The line is you can milk anything with nipples.
Yeah, exactly. Can you milk me?
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? I don't think I could do that. I couldn't do that anymore. Maybe theoretically, when I adopted her, I potentially could have, because she had kittens not too long before then.
Right.
But she was fixed before I even adopted her. So
okay.
The trigger for the making milk hormones,
right.
I don't think is going to happen.
So you could also at this point not impregnate your cat.
I don't want to keep having this discussion. You're weird. You're strange, man.
Simply because you wouldn't do anything ever in that.
Stop. I'm trying to think of something else to talk about. And you're being such a fucking weirdo that I can't think. It's broken my brain.
Yeah.
Bastard.
All right. I'm sorry.
God. I can't think of anything else because I haven't been doing anything.
I know
else.
we've done like nothing.
I mean, spring is weird because it was
like 80 today.
Yeah, it's nice and warm out, but it's a weeknight and not quite to the part of the year where I could maybe go out and do things on the weekend.
I go kayaking.
Yeah, or something like that.
A friend of mine in South Dakota sent me a picture of a kayak that looks like yours, and she says, "I'm going to buy this." I'm like, "Yeah, I have good authority that's going to be a fun time for you."
Yeah. No, I'm fine with my kayak. It could be more comfortable in a number of ways, but for the amount of use I have gotten out of it, I think it was probably on the more expensive end of what I ought to have bought.
Right.
Considering the number of times I have used it, which is embarrassingly few.
This will be the summer.
I think it will. At least I hope it will. Because things have kind of returned to the state they were in more or less the summer that I bought it.
Right.
As far as like my workload. And I feel like my Saturdays in particular are going to be more free than they once were.
I mean, you should have weekends off anyway. You should have 2 days where you're not working.
I mean, I could have had that, but I simply just had so much to do on Fridays where it was like I'm not staying here until 6:30. Like I'm not fucking, or I'm not putting so much pressure on myself that I am completely draining my will to live by working myself to the bone, trying to get everything done before the end of the day.
Right.
I was capable of doing that. There were a couple of times where I did all of my weekend logs before 4:30.
Nice.
And I have no fucking idea how to recreate that level of focus. Like, the stars would align every once in a while, and I would be so focused and so on the ball that I'd get everything done.
Sure.
And I had no idea how to repeat that set of circumstances. So it was usually easier to just finish things up on Saturday.
Right. And you can do it from home.
Yeah. But,
which is, because I have to admit, I kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it'll get to, 4:30 in the afternoon, and I won't have done my show on our station in Botno for Saturday. I'll just get up, make coffee, and do it from my bedroom.
Yeah.
Very often. But that means, I don't technically get that day off. And I don't really get Sunday off totally either because I have to do the morning news Sunday evening. So that's like, I'm 7 days a week, technically.
Yeah. Even if it is for 20 minutes at a time. So I think this summer is hopefully if I actually sort of commit to it, which I think honestly I'm setting myself up for success with me waking up earlier on a more regular basis. Like I'm unless I have a particularly bad night of sleep, I try to get up at 7 and make coffee and like get moving, get started with my day earlier, and give myself some time before work to watch some videos or do a little bit of reading or listen to a podcast and actually like mentally wake up a little bit. And I've been doing that on the weekends a little bit more and trying not to stay up until an ungodly hour on Fridays and Saturdays, so I can then wake up early the next day. And like waking up early on the weekends, I feel like has historically been a big struggle for me. And a lot of the time, I think even if I didn't get a ton of sleep, it would be more beneficial because, man, I almost never feel good when I sleep in past like 10, even if that is theoretically going to net me 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Because my body will wake up at somewhere around 7.
Sure.
Or later. Like I will wake up and I will want to be out of bed and I will force myself to try and go back to sleep. And then I will be fucking miserable for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that, but it's just the way things are. So I think that going into this summer,
yeah,
with that sort of schedule keeping, will be easier for me because generally, like when I go kayaking, you want to go earlier in the morning because that's the time when it's not windy in the summer in North Dakota. If you want it to be windy, or if you want it not to be windy, either all the stars have to align, or you need to get up at 5 in the morning.
Right.
Because it's ever present.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it bothers me. And I go down to the lake, so the wind is a much bigger factor than it might be elsewhere. But yeah, I don't know. I hope I'll get some more use. I only went once last year. The year before that, I don't think I went at all.
No. Well, we had a crappy summer 2 summers ago, I think.
Yeah, it was less than great.
Right.
But yeah, I hope things will shake out because I like it. It's it's exercise. It's relaxing. I'm out in nature.
Right.
I'm in the sun. I can paddle out to somewhere where there's no fucking people around. I can sit and do some reading by a tree or something.
Real glass of milk.
Some real. I'm gonna take a gallon of milk. I'm gonna put it in my kayak, and then I don't have a cooler.
Right.
It's just a gallon of milk in a jug.
Yeah.
And I'm putting it in my kayak so it can swelter inside.
Exactly. And not even with the jug.
Yeah.
You're just gonna take the cap off.
I'm gonna pop open.
Yeah.
The little rubber seal on the back. I'm going to pour it full of milk, actually. Fuck a gallon.
Well, there's got to be room for you to be in there, too.
I am filling. The kayak is no longer paddleable.
Right.
Because the entire inside, the cockpit and the cargo hatch, all full of milk. It's my new skincare routine. And then, kayak full of milk.
And then when you get to the shore, you're going to take a big old glass full of the 80-degree milk.
The 80-degree milk that has had my body in it.
For the last 2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah. And sit by a tree.
People always say, oh, I drink her bath water. But would you drink his kayak milk? If you can't handle me at my kayak milk, you don't deserve me at my bath water.
Yeah.
And there it is, the stupidest thing I've said all week.
It's only Thursday, though.
That's true. I've got time. I've got time.
You'll have time to curdle up something dumber.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also will have to remember to bring my chair with me. My nice little rocking chair that I have.
Is it a complete fold up kind of?
Yeah, it's like the stuff that our boss brings to the state fair.
Oh, okay.
It's I think it's the same brand. It's a slightly different model than what he has.
So it fits in a bag. Yeah,
it can fit in a bag, and it's real nice. My parents got it for me for Christmas a couple years ago, and I have several times. It's out on my deck right now. I always forget to bring it in, so all of the canvas is extremely faded,
which is fine.
Which is fine. It doesn't break. Yeah, it hasn't yet. But it's I always forget to bring it inside. It's sat out because here's the thing that happens in North Dakota.
Yeah.
We'll occasionally have, you get into March and it's like, oh, it's lovely. The snow has melted. It's like 50 degrees out. I'm going to sit outside and get a little bit of sun for the first time this year. And then you forget to put your deck furniture back inside, and then a snowstorm happens.
Right. Inevitably in March or April.
Yeah. And then your deck furniture is still out there. Which for me is just a folding rocking chair, but
because you're alone.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. I want it to be summer.
Yeah, bad. I mean, like today was a taste. I mean, I wanted to get outside. I want to go for a walk. I want to get my bike out.
A taste of summer.
A taste of summer. The Taste of Summer collection now available at Conlin's Furniture.
Yeah.
Which that's something we're doing this weekend.
Remote. The first, they're starting earlier.
Which that's fine.
And if because I know we have 3 on the books.
Yeah.
And the first one, I don't know how far they're going to be spaced out. Hopefully they're not going to do another sale later this summer, because normally it's, however many fucking remotes they have us do, smack dab in the middle of the summer, and also smack dab in the middle of each Saturday.
Yeah.
Which ruins the whole day.
Right.
Because it's right in the middle of the afternoon.
Right. I was thinking I was going to go camping. Well, I guess not.
Yeah. So maybe they're getting them out of the way earlier. I don't know. I don't know how far apart they're going to be spaced, and I don't know if they're going to be more later.
Maybe it's just because their warehouse is so overstocked right now with so much inventory.
Yeah, so maybe it'll be maybe
that's what
I don't know. They like last year, their big warehouse sale, they kept on extending it and extending it and extending it and extending it.
Right.
And then we had to do more remotes, I think. So I don't know. I just hope there's not too many interruptions in the middle of each Saturday.
Right. We get paid for 3 stations, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's inside baseball work stuff.
Yeah.
It will be interrupting. Like I'm finally getting to the second to last session of my Saturday groups campaign.
Oh, wow.
Which I am DMing on Saturday evening. So
it's a full day.
Yeah, I have more work to do. I'm going to have to cram stuff in tomorrow evening and probably on Saturday morning. So that will, I'm sure, do nothing to increase my level of anxiety for the day. But I'm excited to get that to get that over with. That sounds bad to be like, I just want to get this shit. I just want to get it over with. This activity that I treasure with my friends whom I love. I want to get it over with. But it's like, it's been hanging over my head for months at this point.
Right.
And I want to get it done with. And then after that, we'll have one more session that I'm not necessarily in charge of to wrap everything up. And after that, it's back to low level. We're starting over with new characters, and
nice.
It's so much easier. It's so much easier to DM for low level. There's so many cool things, and that's great. Like there's so many really cool abilities that you have at high levels. That's fine. Yeah. That's fun, but it's really nice to have your session prep be there's some goblins over there.
Yeah.
And they kidnapped the blacksmith's daughter. Go save her. They're where are they? A cave. They're in a cave. They're goblins. What do you think they are?
Of course
they're in a cave in the woods.
They're at a TGI Fridays in Minneapolis.
Go get them. Like, yeah, it's so much easier than high level bullshit, which is like has to involve so many moving parts to make it an appropriate amount of challenge and everything. Right. And it just hurts my brain to come up with that stuff and to try and the amount of things that need to go right in order for it to feel like I am doing a good job and making it fun.
Right.
Is
like our Sunday campaign. Will we level 11 now?
You're currently level 10. I think you. I think maybe did I tell you guys to level up? I think I did. I don't remember. If I didn't, then we will get you to 11 when we resume that. Which then that'll go back to occupying my time on Sundays. For I don't know how much longer. I don't know how much longer I want that to go. Like, there are so many things that could be done, but there are, I feel like have been so many days where I've just been like, I want to do something else, but I don't want to be like, hey guys, I don't want to today. Sorry. Like, because there have been so many campaigns that I have just, that I have DM'd, that I've started with a lot of energy, I've lost energy, and then I've just said, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. I quit.
Kind of got bored with it.
And I don't want to do that. I want to at least finish it.
Right.
Or at least have a big thing happen that's a natural end point. Mm-hmm. Like, at least a major goal has been accomplished and now it's over with.
I think it'd be fun if we were headed toward a major goal. We had plans, everything was set and ready to go, and just immediately the first 10 minutes TPK.
Yeah. Like, all right, we're back. Here's an aspect of Tiamat.
Go. Roll initiative.
Oh, you're dead? Oh, okay.
All right.
Like, yeah, it could do that.
That's why I always make sure I have my Discover card with me.
Just so we're ready to go to Outback.
We're ready to go. Well,
was it Outback or Longhorn?
Badlands.
Badlands.
Gonna go to Badlands for beer and salads.
I don't know why I said Outback, because we don't have an Outback.
We don't have an Outback here.
Yeah,
no.
We don't have one of those.
Although I like the salads.
I knew it was a steakhouse.
Yes.
I knew it was a steakhouse.
Go over here just because it's on the street.
Yeah.
Badlands.
So we can go to Badlands and you'll buy everybody. See, here's the thing. Yeah. I feel like it has come up to me. It's popped into my head multiple times. It's just like, okay, I don't want to kill all their characters, but it would be funny to force OJ to make good on this promise that he's going to buy us all, pay for a meal, for everybody. Like it wouldn't be. It would kind of suck narratively for everyone's characters to just die, but also it would be funny for that to happen afterwards. But yeah. So I don't know. That's all. Vegas trip this year is all planned and ready to go.
I was gonna go this year. I'm not going.
You're not doing a Vegas trip this year?
Don't have the money.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, but your Vegas trip is just to go play D&D.
Yeah, it's just
at a B&B.
Yeah, so that'll be fun, and also it'll be with new characters and a new campaign, and they'll all be level 3, and that'll be a good time.
What I'm imagining, because I know he's telling the truth about this, and they go to Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City, to play D&D and drink bottled water and shit like that. I'm just imagining Kale and his online friends at the roulette table with hookers.
I mean, there are a lot of drugs involved, but it's specifically one drug that is legal there.
Right.
Well, I guess technically two drugs that are legal there.
Yeah.
Or 3 if you count caffeine. Because we're real rebels.
Oh man, you guys. Hope you go and get raided.
We specifically have always booked a B&B that is chill with some amount of marijuana. Because although, I mean, obviously no one wants you to smoke it inside, but there have been some places where they don't even want you to smoke it outside.
Right.
Not that we don't actually ever get any herb. Right. It's always vape pens and edibles and whatnot. But, that's That's the real crazy stuff that goes on there.
You guys,
we're so wild and crazy. I think last year, one of my friends, Lane, bought a ton of stuff. He bought enough materials to make like a family gatherings worth of mimosas, and I don't know if we
had a single one.
I didn't have a single one. We hardly went through any of it because we as a group do not drink much alcohol, as it would seem. So I felt a little bit bad about that. Yeah, I just don't. I don't drink very much alcohol at all anymore, and I'm not interested in doing two things at once.
Crossfading is not fun. I've done that. Like, I remember my friend Al's birthday. I came over to his house and he's like, hey, let's have some cocktails. Hey, let's smoke some weed. Yeah. And then next thing you know, I'm in his spare room, face down on the floor. He's like, hey, we're gonna go and party. I was like, oh, you've known me for 25 years. What part of this did you think was a good fucking idea?
For me, like, I don't know. It seems like wine isn't too bad. Sure. Wine doesn't seem to bother me all that much. But like over the last couple of years, like any amount of beer or whiskey is begging for at least a mild hangover the next morning, regardless of how little or how much I drink, and regardless of how little or how much water accompanies it. It always seems to end badly.
So wine seems to be okay for you.
Wine doesn't seem to give me much of a hangover. I feel a little weird the next day, but what it does do is make me sweat like a fucking pig when I'm trying to go to sleep.
Which is funny because pigs don't sweat.
Yeah. So, well, imagine if a pig did sweat, how bad it would have to be. I like the last time that I had wine, like I did. Okay, to be fair, I did drink the entire bottle over the course of the night.
Sure.
But the night lasted for like 10 hours. The night and the morning.
Was it a regular 750? It was just a normal size
wine
it was
bottle? A normal size bottle of wine. And I'm not a small guy.
Right.
So it's not anything particularly crazy, but I sweat through my sheets. Like I when I woke up the next morning and I had to like peel myself out of bed and went, yeah, no, I'm washing these today.
Yeah.
Like this is disgusting. It was really, really nasty. You know what else would be nasty?
What?
Coming across a carcass, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps a carcass of a swan that had been singing.
How would you know it was singing?
Because someone had recorded it, and then the phone that they recorded it on was on the ground, and the recording was open, and when you walk it, you're like, what's this? A clue to what happened here? And you press it, and you can hear the Swan's song. And that was my improv bit.
And scene.
And scene. So, Swansong is an album put out by the English death metal band Carcass in 1996.
The most influential rock band ever to come out of Liverpool, England.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. No other rock and roll outfit from Liverpool, England has been... had this much of an impact.
Certainly no other rock and roll outfit has changed the face of rock as much as Carcass did.
Right. Maybe Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Yeah, at least no rock and roll outfit that came out of Liverpool. Anyway.
Right.
But yeah, so they're an English death metal band from Liverpool. One of the early wave of death metal bands came particularly popular and influential, and then this came out.
Right.
So yeah, they became increasingly popular. They signed with a big record label, which was Columbia, I believe, and they were sort of planning this album, and it was going to be their big major label debut.
Right.
Which is so weird to me looking back on the 90s. Thinking like man, record labels were really going like, what's this new sound? Just fucking throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Right.
Like I can't imagine any death metal band, regardless of how popular, signing to a major label at this point. Like
now, no.
Like Cannibal Corpse is the most popular death metal band in the world, and they're still on what, Metal Blade?
Yeah, I believe so. Which, to be fair, is an offshoot of a major label.
That's true, but that's the most that you're going to get. Mm-hmm. I think the vast majority of metal bands are much more happy and much more comfortable being the biggest fish in a somewhat smaller pond, mm-hmm. instead of being a fish that is not only in a much bigger pond, but it's also the fucking sea, and you happen to be a trout.
Right.
That is not going to live long in salt water. Yeah, it's weird to me looking back on that era of like record labels kind of, I guess, maybe hedging their bets of like maybe this underground thing will really take off, and maybe we can sign some of these bands and become the next, like get the next Metallica. Metallica started as a thrash metal band, and that was a real extreme underground genre when it got going, and then they became one of the biggest rock bands in the world, playing a show in Moscow to a million fucking people, literally a million people. Like,
I think that were they the first band to play on every continent?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure they played at McMurdo.
So I think record labels were maybe chasing the next Metallica and thinking like, okay, so we got to pick a new obscure extreme genre, and maybe it'll become the next. It wasn't death metal.
No.
In fact, it wasn't any genre of metal after that.
No. Maybe new metal.
Maybe new metal, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was maybe what was going on with people at Columbia signing Carcass of all bands. And they had, as members of the band, already been like, interested in playing stuff like this, I guess. They had a lot of the songs already partially written, at least riffs anyway, like this. And they, I guess, saw this big major label debut as a chance to show off some more accessible songwriting, some more accessible music. I say that it's still got no clean singing on it whatsoever. No. It's still exclusively death growls.
Yeah.
Or at least Jeff Walker. It's more of a scream. I guess in the 90s there wasn't a whole lot of difference. Like, to me, now, like, the difference between growling and screaming feels more defined, but that's because I grew up listening to metalcore and deathcore,
right? Which wasn't a thing yet.
They are
this came out.
A bit more well defined. Like I associate the term growl with like more deep guttural vocals rather than something sort of more mid-ranged, which is closer to what Jeff Walker does.
Right.
But the band, by the way, consists of Jeff Walker, plays bass, is also the vocalist. Carlo Regatas on guitar, Bill Steer also on guitar, and Ken Owen on drums.
Is Ken Owen still in the band? In fact,
Ken Owen is still in the band.
Okay. I thought he had left. Maybe he left for a while.
I think Carlo Regatas is the one who's not in the band anymore, I think.
Yeah, they're a three-piece now.
Yeah, I think the other three, or they are four.
Are they four?
There's a new guy in there. And there was a number of other, I think that fourth position has rotated between a number of different people. I think I might be misremembering what I skimmed over briefly earlier today.
Yeah.
So this is an album we've talked about it obliquely before. It's an album that has a reputation for it's divisive, and it's an album that you have always liked.
I've ever since first hearing it, I'm like, this just feels like, they're not trying to do a thing to make it a thing. They're just, hey, here's songs we like to play.
Yeah.
And that's when it came up to me. So that's a great riff. This is, a great, guitar melody.
Yeah.
This is a great mix. I enjoy, what's going on here. The lyrics are great. I love actually their other stuff as well. But this just feels like, I feel like when I'm listening to this, I feel like I've been invited to the secret party.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. You mentioned lyrics. I'm trying to remember what the vibe was on Heartwork. As far like, were the lyrics more typical death metal on Heartwork of like more like bloody and gore and like horror movie lyrics?
No,
because these lyrics, to me, they're weird.
They're social. They're more social political kind of stuff.
They strike me as, I almost said one of your. It's the type of band that you have brought several times of the more punk oriented bands with more social politically aimed lyrics that make me mildly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I guess this is satirical, but it doesn't feel entirely obvious that it's satirical. And I'm listening to it going like, these guys aren't like Nazis, are they?
No,
like
certainly not.
And it was a thing, and we've discussed this before with those other kinds of bands where it's just a thing that bands don't do anymore. Where, like, I guess irony is dead. But like the thing of like, you don't write satirical songs from the viewpoint of the people you're criticizing, because there will be a lot of people who don't realize that it's a satire and you're criticizing those people.
Right.
And suddenly a whole bunch of people really like your band and they're actual Nazis.
Well, but I mean, just weird that didn't happen with their first couple of albums.
It seemed like it didn't really happen that way back then with those types of band.
Right, because people got it. People understood. Oh, yeah. You're poking fun at the subject.
And I think it was because genres like punk were still alive at the time, more or less. Like that was still sort of a thing in music, I guess. It just... I don't know. Me as a younger person, growing up having listened to bands who are on the younger side, that's not how people do political music or political lyrics anymore.
Right.
It tends to be more serious and less tongue in cheek.
Because people won't get it.
Yeah. And also maybe there's a vibe of like, well, this isn't funny, so I'm not going to try and make it funny. And also, even outside of some of the things making me like, oh, is that what's going on there? A lot of times for me, they just aren't funny. Even if I know it's like satire or it's like, this feels childish. Like maybe not on this album, but there's a number of other ones where I'm just like, this feels infantile. This, but also they're usually people that were like, who the fuck is calling me?
Someone's calling you, like on the phone,
and they hung up. I don't know if it was
who calls people.
Like
a phone call?
Yeah, like a phone call. It's a number that has called me before. It's almost certainly people wanting, desperately pleading with me to go donate blood.
Yeah. Did they call? Is it from near Grand Forks, North Dakota?
I didn't see what city it was. It just says North Dakota.
Okay.
It didn't say what city. I think I've blocked one of their numbers, and they started calling me from a different number.
Right.
It's important to go donate blood. It's a good thing to do. It's helpful. I'm just fucking leave me alone.
They want my platelets. They never want my blood.
They just want your platelets?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
your blood's no good?
I'm a universal recipient.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your blood is no good.
It is no good.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about Carcass.
Speaking of blood.
Speaking of blood, So does this album slap?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it slaps.
It's definitely death and roll. It's just really good death and roll.
Yeah. So I was looking at reviews. It's interesting because again, divisive. And by divisive, it's people either love this album or they hate it.
Right.
It's not like, oh, everyone's kind of meh on this album. No, there are a lot of people who love this album, and there are equally as many people who seem to hate this album. It came out to about a 69%,
nice.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I put together 5 reviews. One I kind of had to make up a actual number score for because it just said favorable or unfavorable. But it came out to about, one review was 100%.
Really? They're like, I love this.
Yeah. And then there was another one that was 40%.
Yeah.
So
if you're a purist, this is not your thing.
Yeah. And I think that was a lot of people's problem with it is it was just not what they were looking for from Carcass as far as being a death metal band. Because if you listen to their earlier work, if you listen to Heartwork, that's some of the best death metal. It's fucking amazing. It's like if you want like classic death metal and you don't want to listen to death and early Cannibal Corpse is too lo-fi for you, then Carcass is about the next best thing.
Right.
As far as really top shelf death metal from that era. And this wasn't in that mold. And I can see why people would be disappointed with that.
Right.
For sure. What's your favorite song on this album?
I mean, there's a song in this album that is my personal anthem.
Which is?
Polarized.
Polarized.
Yeah.
Okay. I think my favorite song is Child's Play.
Also a fantastic song.
I really like the moody bass in the intro. There's a slight like in addition to the death and roll, there's a slight like alternative rock, alternative metal edge to a lot of these tracks. In the guitar tone, particularly, there's a slight grunge tone to the guitar.
Yeah, kind of
in there as well that I was picking up on. Let's just get to it. What metal do you bestow upon Carcass, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
I give this a gold. That's for me personally. Yeah.
Hey, that's perfectly fine. I will give it a silver. I don't dislike this album. I don't have the baggage going into listening to this that a Carcass fan in 1996 would have had.
Yeah.
I don't have that same baggage or really those expectations. The only expectations I did have is, it's going to sound different than their other stuff that they've done. Right. And it's going to be less death metal and it's going to be a bit more, rock and roll. That was my only expectation. And it's fine. This is a perfectly good album. It's also not particularly my thing. There's some other more death and roll or death and roll adjacent albums that we've listened to or I've listened to on my own, and I've always found it to kind of not really be my thing. Right. But that doesn't mean that this is bad by any means. It's perfectly fine.
You know what's weird is that my other favorite death and roll album is also one of that particular band's most hated albums,
which is
Entombed's Inferno. A lot of people hated that album. I don't know why. I have a special place in my heart for that. And people listening right now are going, what the fuck is wrong with him? But no, I love that album.
You've just got to be different.
That's not intentional.
I know. I don't know. Like, what is it? Left Hand Path? That's Entombed, right? That's Entombed, like we've listened to, like, I really dug that. But that's also, classic Swedish death metal. Right. And yeah, I don't know. I have not decided yet what we're listening to next week. We're back in that era now where I'm not going to be ready. I haven't figured out what I want to listen to. I haven't listened to a lot of music independently lately. Really? Part of it is just because of constantly listening to audiobooks and, my ears are otherwise occupied a lot of the time.
You're becoming an old man.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. So we'll figure out what we're listening to next week, and it'll be a surprise. Yay! So until then, why don't you go ahead and follow us on Facebook, or the website formerly known as Twitter, or you can go ahead and subscribe to our feed on whatever podcast service you are using to listen to us right now. Till you hear from us again, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.